In this video, I'm going to attempt to guide you through the optimal gear progression for the melee combat style. There are a ton of different factors at play that are going to determine what you should buy next, which makes it very challenging to make a one-size-fits-all guide. Combat is becoming increasingly more niched out as far as gear goes, and melee has the most niche options available, along with the largest selection of options for special attack weapons. This means that the content that you want to do is going to dictate which upgrades you should be focusing on, and in this video, I'm going to ignore all of this to the best of my ability and try to be as general as humanly possible. This is also going to be segmented by the cost of your setup. This is the best way to do these videos because you're usually going to have the skills required to use a piece of equipment long before you have the money to buy it. Here we are, starting off as the biggest Chad of free-to-play. Every year I get the same complaint that I don't show the progression up until this point. Just do the optimal quest guide, you'll get to this point in just a few hours. It's not a big deal. For our first upgrade, we're going to get the Amulet of Glory. And these first few upgrades, it doesn't really matter what order you get them in, but with the Amulet of Glory, we're sacrificing a little bit of our strength bonus for an increase in accuracy, a bunch of different teleports, and also a +3 prayer bonus, which is pretty huge at this point of the game. Next up, we're going to get the Combat Bracelet. This is going to give us a good amount of accuracy and strength bonus for just 12k. Then in your ammo slot, we're going to want to get a blessing. This is going to give you a small prayer bonus. Either get the Rada's blessing from the Kurin Diaries or just buy one off the Grand Exchange. Next up, I want to fill up all these open slots, so we're going to get a ring. Your ring doesn't matter too much, but the Explorer's ring here gives you 1 prayer bonus and it's free, so that's better than nothing. Next up, we're going to get some rune boots. If you don't have 40 defense, I would just get some climbing boots. Those are basically free. Rune boots are like 7k and both of them give you a strength bonus of 2. Next, we're going to unlock the Sulfur Blades. These require 50 attack and will be a huge upgrade in DPS. They're especially good against the Sulfur Naguas as they benefit from a unique flat armor mechanic, which makes this one of the best training weapons in the game. And then we have Mix Hide. So this one's going to be a little situational. It does require 60 range. It gives us a little bit of strength bonus with the sacrifice of some accuracy. I don't recommend the legs. They don't give you any strength bonus, so just the chest piece and the cape. But really, this one isn't that important. It's just if you have the level for it, you might as well get it. Next up, we're going to be doing a little bit of questing to get the Helm of Nada's Knot. You need to complete the Fremennik Isles and have 50 defense to equip this. This is going to give you some additional prayer bonus, some additional strength bonus, and a good amount of defense as well. While we're questing, we might as well knock out Monkey Madness and get the Dragon Scimitar. This one's going to give us some accuracy and strength bonus over the Sulfur Blades. It's going to cost 60 attack in order to wield, but it really shines when you pair it with the Dragon Defender, which is going to be one of the biggest upgrades in the game. It gives us a ton of accuracy, a ton of strength bonus. It's free. You get it from a minigame at the Warriors Guild. The only thing here is that you are going to need to have a combined 130 in your attack and strength levels, so I just put it up here as 65 and 65. This is the point where you're going to want to start working towards your Barrow's Gloves. You need to complete the Recipe for Disaster quest. They cost 130k, but they give a ton of accuracy and strength bonus, not to mention bonuses for Mage and Range, which we're not really going to be touching on in this video, but it's an added bonus. These are going to be occupying that glove slot until we get into the late game. Next up, we have RuneScape's most iconic rite of passage, the Fire Cape. Shaky hands and excuses aside, the Fire Cape is going to provide us with a little bit of accuracy, 4 strength bonus, and some defensive bonuses as well. We're going to round off our mid-game untradables with the Fighter Torso. This one comes from the Barbarian Assault minigame, and a lot of people hate this activity. I personally love this minigame. I think it's a ton of fun. It's not as bad as people make it sound. Just go to the Mass World, team up with people who look competent, and you should have this in roughly 2 hours. Now, I would normally suggest other upgrades first, but we're on a budget right now. We got to keep everything under 1 mil, so we're going to pick up some Dragon Boots. Not the biggest upgrade in the game, a little bit of defense, a little bit of strength bonus, and it's going to cost you nearly 300k. If you have 70 defense, I recommend getting some Barrow's Legs. They're like 250k at most. They provide a ton of protection. I personally like Varric's Skirt because it gives you a prayer bonus. If you don't have the defense yet, I wouldn't really sweat for it. It's not that big of a deal. Then to round off this tier, I recommend getting your hands on some special attack weapons. You can definitely get these a little bit earlier than I have in this video. You probably already have, but I recommend getting the Arcan Blade or the DDS or both of them. They're both really good and extremely affordable. Alright, we're officially rich. We have a $10 million cash infusion, and you're going to notice a trend going on with this video. We're going to be upgrading our weapon first, then our jewelry, then our armor. That's because these are the upgrades that are going to give us the most DPS in that order. First up, we're getting our Abyssal Whip. This is going to give us a ton of accuracy, a ton of strength, and it's going to require 70 attack. Time to put the glory in the bin, or more realistically, into the bank, because you still want it to do some like teleports and stuff, but we're going to get ourselves an Amulet of Fury. This gives us the same accuracy bonus, so no increase there. It is going to give us 2 more strength bonus over the Amulet of Glory, but the big thing here is that we're going to get a ton of defensive stats and a couple more prayer bonus. It is a huge upgrade, even though it doesn't really look like it on paper. Next up, we're going to get the Berserker Ring. Just buy the normal Berserker Ring off the Grand Exchange, then you're going to want to imbue it. Yes, this does double the cost of our entire setup, but it's completely worth it because of the +8 strength bonus. I can't do a whole guide on how to imbue it here. I'm going to try to leave a link down in the description below. I recommend doing the Amir's Arena method instead of the Nightmare Zone. You can do the Nightmare Zone if you want, it's just going to take a lot longer. And yeah, this was a really short section. We're going to cap it off with Obsidian Legs, and whether you want to get these, it's kind of up to you. They have half the defense bonuses of the Verax Legs, doesn't have the prayer bonuses, but it does give you 1 strength bonus. I did some calculations, and it depends on your level. It depends on whether you're praying, whether you're potted, and all that type of stuff, whether it gives you a max hit or not, so your mileage may vary. This is going to be another short section, but every single one of these upgrades is massive, and we're going to start off with one of the biggest ones, the Slayer Helm. This is only like 500k right now, which is the cheapest it's been in my memory. If you're doing any amount of Slayer, you absolutely need to get your hands on this. Get it even earlier than this. It is such a good item. It's going to give you 16% or 17% damage increase against all of your Slayer monsters, so this is definitely a must-have. Then we're going to get our hands on Osmumpton's Fang. This sword gives us a large boost in strength, but where this weapon really shines is its accuracy, and that's pretty much the whole point of this. It is a special mechanic that rolls your accuracy twice if you miss your first accuracy roll. However, it is a 5-tick weapon, which means it's 25% slower than the Abyssal Whip or the Dragon Scimitar that we talked about earlier. This means that it's going to absolutely demolish monsters with high defense, but you're going to want to keep that whip or that de-skim around because they're going to be better against monsters with low defense. Next up, I think you should pick up the Dragon Warhammer. This is going to be so useful in so many different bossing encounters. What it does is upon successful hit, so hitting anything other than a 0 with the special attack, it's going to lower that monster's defense by 30%. Land 2 specs in a row and it works out to 49%. If you didn't work it out, that's going to make you much more likely to hit bosses that have really high defense. And for our last upgrade of this section, we're going to pick up the Blood Moon Tassets, and yeah, we went over budget by 1 mil. Deal with it. All they do is give us 1 additional strength bonus. They're basically a less tanky version of Bando's Tassets. However, they are also part of the Blood Moon set, which does have its own niche use cases. I'm going to start off this section with a special mention. We're not actually adding to the core armor set, but at this point, it might make sense for you to get full Blood Moon armor. It has a passive effect with the Makohedals that'll reduce the cooldown in between attacks to 1 tick if it procs. This can lead to a ton of DPS against monsters that have low defense. Furthermore, Sulfur Naguas have a negative flat armor mechanic that adds 4 to whatever you hit. Since Marakas hit twice every hit, that means that you get 8 damage added onto it every single time. Both of these things combined allow you to get the best combat experience rates in the game. Take the wiki with a grain of salt, but it says you can get like 170k an hour, which is insane. Now, another thing that I think everybody at this point in the game should have is the Light Bearer. It only costs like 4.5 mil, super affordable for what it gives you, and it's the best in slot for what it does. And what it does is while wearing it, you will recover twice as much special attack energy, which allows you to use twice as many special attacks. Now, which one to use is going to be entirely down to what content you're currently doing. Just to boil it down into the most simple thing, and realize this doesn't apply to everything, is that if you are constantly hitting something the entire time, Berserker Ring is going to be better. If there's any gaps in that, if you're using major range or different styles or anything, Light Bearer is what you want to use. Alright, next up, Amulet of Torture. This one's way more straightforward. This is just going to be a direct upgrade from the Amulet of Fury. We're going to be sacrificing those defense bonuses, a little bit of the prayer bonuses for some increased accuracy, and 2 more strength bonus. Then next up, we're going to get the Primordial Boots. This one's going to give us a tiny little bit of accuracy. It's just 2 in each style, and then we're also going to get 3 additional strength bonus. I was looking at this gear, and I think it's about time that you get yourself a Crystal Halberd. It does have some steep requirements. You do need to complete the hard Western Diaries, that's the Elf Diaries. And just look this up, you actually don't need Song of the Elves completed, but you probably should do that anyways. So weapons use case is super niche. Basically it hits big numbies, but it has a very long cooldown, so you'd want to try to use it to get the last hit on a monster. And since we're kind of just adding some niche stuff, I recommend you get an Arclight if you don't already have one. It's basically free. It's an upgraded Darklight, which you get from the Shadow of the Storm quest, I think, just off the top of my head. Anyways, this one absolutely shreds demons. We will be upgrading this one later in the video, but you might as well get this before you can spend your money on the Synapse. Right here at the end of the section, we're going to squeeze in some Burning Claws. Feel free to get this one earlier if you're doing content that calls for them. It's just a really strong special attack weapon that just does straight DPS, and it's only like 5 or 6 mil right now. With 500 mil in the bank, it's time for you to join the big boy club. You're getting your Inferno cape. Realistically, you might not be ready to go get this. Just kind of like leave this in the back of your head as a long-term goal. It also depends more on your range and magic setups than your melee setup anyways. But this does give us a little bit of accuracy, and it doubles the strength bonus of the fire cape we had before. And with that being said, let's get the rest of our end of mid-game upgrades out of the way. And you can realistically just get these in any order, but we're going to start off with the Nade is Not face guard. It's basically just an upgrade to what we had before, but it's tankier, it doubles the strength bonus, and we still have that prayer bonus, so this is just a great helmet overall. Next up, Ferocious Gloves, a good bit of accuracy, massive strength bonus. This is going to be our best in slot glove, so this is just going to be in that glove spot for the rest of the game. The one downside of getting these gloves is that you're no longer able to use the Barrows gloves as a tri-brid glove, so if you're doing raids, you could just bring the Barrows gloves themselves. With this, you're going to also need glove switches for the other two attack styles, so just keep that one in mind. And this is going to be our first purely defensive upgrade, and I'm going to get some people who disagree with me on this, but I think you should get full Bandos armor. If you're a little bit too broke, you can keep on rocking the torso, but the Bandos chestplate is going to give you a good deal of defense, and if you need another upgrade, you can always sell it. But yeah, these are just going to match the same stats that we did have before offensively. This is just going to give us a ton more defense, which is going to help us at pretty much everywhere where we're doing combat. Just looking at this gear immediately made me think of the Theater of Blood, so I had to put the Tentacle Whip in here. If you don't have a scythe yet, this is going to be your bread and butter for the theater. You're going to want the Tentacle Whip, you're going to want to bring in the Fang for Soditseg, and ultimately you're just going to want to have a strong 4-tick attack weapon for monsters with lower defense. At this point, it might make sense for you to pick up a Void Waker. This is one of the best special attack weapons in the game, and where this really shines is against monsters with really high defense because your hit's magic based and it's a guaranteed hit. Oh man, have prices come down on this. I recommend you get this Amulet of Rancor as soon as possible. The really cool thing about this, other than just the way that it looks, is it does give us plus 10 accuracy, so it's plus 25 overall. It's just 10 better than the Torture, and then it also gives us some added strength bonus. This one's just an absolute beast of an upgrade, and I recommend you getting this if you have the GP to afford it. Next up, we're going to unlock another piece of best in slot, and that's the Avernic Defender, and I'm always a little hesitant of putting this in there because once you get this, there's no Sona back on the Grand Exchange. Everything else on here, for the most part, you can sell back and then get other upgrades and all that type of stuff, but once you lock in on this, that one's on your account unless you like lose it above 30 Wilderness or something like that. Anyways, this is one of the biggest upgrades in the game. Massive boost to your accuracy, massive boost to your strength. It's just really good overall, and right now, as of making this, it's like 40 mil for one of these things, so that's pretty cheap compared to where it's been in the past. For the rest of this tier, we're going to fill this up with some niche items because the next upgrades are some big ones which just aren't going to fit in here, and for the first of those, you're going to want to get Emberlight. If you're killing demons with melee, you absolutely need this. This is going to be our best in slot, and this is going to be on the board for the rest of the video. If you got enough money, time to get Dragon Claws. They're a great special attack weapon. Their entire thing is just that they do a shitload of damage. Very good. Another one that you might want to look into is the Noxious Halberd. This weapon has the benefit of being able to attack from one tile away from things, which helps a lot with a few of the different combat achievements. It will also allow you to attack monsters that were normally out of reach, like Zulrah. Melee Zulrah absolutely slaps. Just whatever you do, don't bring this thing into the Theater of Blood. At this point in the game, it makes sense for you to own both a hammer and a Bandos Godsword. They do different things, so if you had the BGS before, now it's time for you to also get a hammer. The hammer does a percentage-based decrease, so you want to hit this on monsters with high defense, and then the Bandos Godsword does a nominal decrease, so usually what you would do is lower their defense with the hammers first, and then use the Godsword once their defense is lower, and the percentage would be less effective. Holy hell, this is so cluttered. I need to fix this. I'll fix it in the next section. Anyways, the last part of this section is going to be the Dragon Hunter lands. If you're killing a lot of dragons, or if you're doing a lot of Chambers of Xeric, this is an absolute must-have. The reason for this is that the lance has an increased 20% accuracy and damage against dragons. Alright, I cleaned it up as good as I can. Everything on here I think is important enough to leave on here, but let's get on with it. Our first upgrade of this tier is going to be full Oathplate. This provides the same strength bonus as the setup that we had before on here, but this comes with 38 slash bonus. If all you do is Tombs of the Masked, I would hold off on this, but if you're doing slash heavy bosses like Yama or the Theater of Blood, this is going to be a massive boost to your accuracy. Next up, we have the Ultra Ring. This is the best in slot ring in the game, replacing the Berserker ring with 50% more strength bonus, adding 4 to our total. Now, you might have noticed that I had a stab weapon paired with slash armor, and now that all changes with the Soul Reaper axe. This holds its spot as the second best slash weapon in the game overall, and the best against monsters that are just one tile large. The one major downside here is that to get to its full potential, it has to gain stacks by hitting monsters. When you gain a stack, you lose 8 health, but after the maximum of 5 stacks, you'll have an additional 30% strength bonus. Here we go! Adding the Scythe of Vitter, my very favorite weapon in the game. Usually it's going to make sense for you to sell a good portion of your other gear just to get your hands on this. It's just extremely strong, so you don't really need all that other stuff to make it good. But for the sake of this video, we're not going to be simulating that. This is the strongest melee weapon in the game, even though you might have noticed that we lost a good bit of stats. This is because the Scythe hits enemies that are a 3-tile by 3-tile 3 times and a 2x2 twice. This can rack up an absurd amount of damage, but this DPS is going to cost you, with the Scythe currently costing a whopping 1.4 billion GP. Next up, Avernic Shreds, one of the best updates that we've had in a long time. Basically what these do is they combine all 3 of the previous best in slot boots for melee, magic, and range all into one, and then boost their stats even further. Other than just more DPS, this allows you to have much more inventory space when doing raids, since you can just leave out all of your boot swaps. Next up, let's pick up an Elder Maul. This is just a better Dragon Warhammer, basically. It's just better in every way. Better stats, so you're more likely to hit, and it reduces the enemy's defense by 35%. Next up, we're going to want to get a Torva Helm. This is going to give us some additional strength bonus with the cost of a little bit of accuracy. In most activities, and I mean mainly the Theater of Blood, this is going to be a preferred setup over just the full Oathplate. And if you're rich as hell, you can get the rest of the Torva after this. Basically, you're going to want to use this when accuracy doesn't matter, because it's going to give you a little bit of extra strength bonus, but you are going to lose a ton of accuracy. Inquisitors is a great set for a very select few pieces of content in the game. If you're doing like Fasani's Nightmare or a lot of Araxor, you could just buy this and then resell it later on. I just want to put it late in this video because it is super niche. Most players, when you are building up your gear setup, you're not going to want to just keep this in the bank, since it still does cost a decent amount. Then, I don't know, like you pretty much have everything in the game. You're rich as hell. You might as well get an Ellie. It's really only useful in like the Inferno. There's probably another place, I just can't think of it. It's a really cool looking shield that signifies that you have nothing else to spend money on. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's the video. If there's anything that you would do differently, let me know down in the comment section below. You guys are probably going to do that anyways. Be nice about it this time though. But yeah, this video was really hard to make. Every year it gets increasingly more difficult. This is the 3rd time I've done it. There's just so much more gear in the game. It's so much more niched out. I found myself, while I was making this, just like trying to think just like, oh, well, you should get this if you're doing this content, or this if you're going to do this, but not if this factor's in play. So it's just really hard to keep it all in order. But I hope I did a good job for you guys. If you did enjoy the video, make sure that you do like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.